baddies! In this video, I'm gonna talk about why people are so damn scared to be single, why they shouldn't be, and why your fear of being alone is ruining your... Let's get into it. So we all know those people who hop from relationship to relationship, i.e. serial monogamists. Or even those people who are constantly talking to someone, i.e. serial situationshipogamists. It needs work. And I want to start by talking about why people do this in the first place. The first reason is that we're living in a relationally poor society. What do I mean by that? Humans used to live in these tight-knit communities where your mom, your dad, and your cousin who is also your boyfriend all lived in the same little town where you knew everyone and you all died at 40. And now we live in a late capitalist society. Many of us in these sprawling cities where our friends and family are at best 20 minutes away and at worst a 4-hour plane ride away, which is definitely the case for me and a lot of my friends. It's hard. The fact is, we just don't have community built into our lives in the way that we used to. And because of that, people invest way too much time and energy into their romantic relationships. This is how serial monogamists are born. Rather than relying on a network of community members, friends, and themselves to meet their social needs, they invest all of those needs into one person. They start relying completely on their romantic partner to be the one they're gonna hang out with every Saturday night, the person they're gonna text all day so they never feel bored. And I think anytime you're relying on one person to fulfill all of your needs, your standard for who's gonna fill that position is naturally lower. It stops being that you want that person to be your partner and starts being that you need someone to be your partner. So when you go through a breakup, rather than taking the months or years that it takes to find someone that you really click with, you just bunker down with the next person that comes along because shit beats being alone. I think if our society placed nearly as much emphasis on community and friendship as it did on true love, we wouldn't have this problem. But here we are. Oh. I'm sad too, Kermit. The other huge reason we're terrified of being single stems from, you guessed it, for all the progress women have made, there is still so much pressure on us to get partnered up, especially once you hit a certain age. Oh, you're single? Well, I'm sure you'll find someone. Well, she did cure cancer and solve world hunger, but she's still single. Oh, her poor family. I know. And between you and me, I think most of the women who shame other women for being single are just trying to justify the fact that they settled for a disappointing relationship and they'd be a lot more comfortable if you did the same. I said it. But regardless of the reasons, all of this pressure and shame and, let's face it, loneliness can be a lot to handle. And sometimes it drives you so crazy that you finally just say, fine, I don't like you that much and I merely tolerate the sex, but it sure as hell beats being alone. Give me the ring. And I know a lot of people also do this for biological clock reasons, but I don't think this is a valid reason for settling either. I know in the moment it can seem complicated and like you don't have a choice, but there's always a choice, and being with someone who doesn't truly make you happy is not gonna lead to a happy life. Which brings me to my main point. Your fear of being alone is ruining your life. Better the first time. It's causing you to enter into or stay in relationships that are not serving you simply because you are terrified of the alternative. And I think this goes without saying, but fear is not the emotional center from which you're gonna make healthy, happy life decisions. If you keep organizing your life around avoid being alone at all costs, where do you think that's gonna land you ultimately? In a dissatisfying relationship that you settled for because you were just that scared of your own company, or worse, other people's judgment. And we cannot have that. The fairy godmother does not settle. But here's the good news. You have the power to operate from a place of hope rather than a place of fear. A place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity. If you've been hopping from one disappointing relationship to the next, you can make the choice to step back and do some much needed self-work and subscribe to the fairy godmother. And here's the thing, being on your own actually isn't that bad. The years I have spent being single, figuring my own shit out, playing the field, have been so crucial to my self-development. In these years, I have firstly developed a very close relationship with myself, which I know sounds kind of silly, but I actually think a lot of people don't know themselves at all. But thanks to the inner work I've done, and journaling is a huge part of this, I'll do a whole other video on that, I know my own heart. I know how to evaluate my own feelings in a productive way. I know how to self-soothe when I'm feeling down, rather than relying entirely on other people to do that for me. And ironically, because of all this self-awareness and inner work, I am really good at identifying what I want in a partner. Secondly, I learned to cherish the shit out of my own company. And this is really important because the only person that's gonna be around from the day that you're born to the day that you die is you, bitch. I've learned to have the best time just reading a book, going for a bike ride, starting a YouTube channel. Because I get to do all those things with me, and I'm my number one bitch. And thirdly, I learned to fill my own cup validation-wise. Because when you don't have someone constantly telling you how beautiful and capable and smart you are, well, you have to learn to do it yourself. And frankly, that's a really, really good thing.
Yeah!
Disclaimer is that if, and I mean if, you're already in a really healthy and nourishing and happy partnership, I think it's possible to do this self-inner work within a relationship. You're just gonna have to be a little bit more intentional about it, which I think is worth doing. Back to the video, hee hee hee. So despite the lonely nights, the long stretches without sex, and sometimes the isolation that comes when all your friends are getting booed up without you, I wouldn't trade my single years for anything. They taught me firsthand that being alone is not only not that bad, it's also really necessary. So learn to embrace your alone time, and for the love of God, do not enter a relationship or a marriage just because you'd rather be with someone than be alone. If this video has convinced you to embrace the single life and you're considering a hoe phase, check this out. If you feel like you've made the most of your single years and you're ready to meet your person, I have a book recommendation that's gonna blow your mind. Don't forget to subscribe!